we're looking to just look at it as an audible feedback tool. We can punctuate things in all types of movement. Like that's why we could add something to a flight kick.
Movements that you
so like I can lunge with it, right? And I can add that punctuation into a lunge. I can skate with it, right? I can pop back on the ground, and I can add arm action. Ooh.
Hold it in your fingers like this, take the underneath, and basically what you're doing is cocking the wrist so that it can stay vertical. Let me see them. So I'm basically here, and the motion is going to be this, where they stay vertical, like that. And to learn it, what I want you to do is you're going to put your hands together like we call it hamburger hands, like you're going to eat a hamburger. Blade the elbows wide like that, and then it's just a distinct V where you hit, hit, hit. Boom, 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 let the elbow come up high. Just jog with no effort. Let the punctuation do it. Don't think, keep that together and just do it like that. Long strides are effortless, nothing in the legs. Elbows up high like you're doing dips.
So the idea, I'm gonna lay on my back. We call it hamburger hands. You're gonna
a little lower with the pulse.
The whole time.
Okay, and now you can take them apart, and it's the arm coming forward. Right, left, right, left, right, left. Boom, 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 boom. Now jog with that. Effortless in the leg. Effortless in the leg. Effortless in the leg. So I want you to learn effortless power, and then we'll add effort. If we try to go, it's slow is smooth, smooth is fast, and if you can get that jolt, you'll get the stride length without and you'll let that force, you're delivering and receiving. So the receiving is as important as the delivery. Right? And this just catches up and punctuates the ground force. And so this is just basic, so you can get it, and then put it wherever it feels good for you. Right, left, you're emphasizing the one that's coming forward. Right, left, and keep it cocked. See how it went? It's gotta be that. Come back to hamburger. That's it. Start with that, and then pull them apart as you like. See how it's swishy? Long, all with that spike. Boom, boom, right, left, good. Now think, head over foot. Boom, 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 right. There you go. There you go. You feel what I'm talking about? Yeah, so you're getting that little boost that the burden of carrying 12 ounces in each hand is less than the connective tissue recoil return that you're getting. If you do up a hill, it's easier and faster with them than without them.
Okay.
If you're running around a curve, you're faster with them than without them. Some people on certain distances just straight and flat, faster with them without. Because you're getting, there's no inertia to the stop. So that means I can go sprint speed with no burden of having to like
work with that.
Slow it down.
Build it, and it will
and then, yes. And let that remove all burden from joints. Because if it's connected.
We do this all at the same time, so we have to cock your wrist. You know, cock your wrist as hard as you can. Like your palm striking the ground. Okay? And just keep the blues vertical, and then get it going, and then just roll hop.
Now just ride it.
Beautiful.
Nsima, feel that effortlessness.
Punctuate. Make it louder. Feel all your hands actually do the work for
you. Connective tissue recoil. And what we want to do is I want you to feel the distinct sensation that we have reduced burden. You have reduced burden, right? Effortless power, add effort. That's the whole idea. And this teaches you what to do, but it also builds the tissues. So that you get, boom, he did 60 different exercises and filmed them all. He texted me at 10 at night. He's like,
I saw all the stuff you got on the treadmill.
He's like, dude, I'm wasted.
Dude, so the big thing for me is like, I need to get this to people in other ways. The thought was running right away. It's the most practical. It makes the most sense. But like, I train with these. There's lots of exercises and ways. We're looking to just look at it as an audible feedback tool, we can punctuate things in all types of movement. Like that's why we could add
Show them
something
a
to a
couple
flight kick.
movements that you
So
do.
like I can lunge with it, right? And I can add that punctuation into a lunge. I can skate with it, right? I can pop back on the ground and I can add arm action to core work. I got that flutter pulse. I can get really quick, right? But I'm not bracing and holding. I can start developing. I noticed with like, I did a lot of gymnastic stuff, so it's a lot of either time for intensity or like weight, things like that. Or like people start putting med balls into core work, right? Because they're trying to get faster, but it ends up just kind of like, there's not like a nice way to keep getting fast without getting too much weight, right?
I was about to say, do you think it's just because it's too heavy?
It just ends up being there, right? Or too big and awkward, and it just doesn't allow you to do some certain things. This adds a lot of ability to move really fast places that people aren't used to, and there's tons of value for that for everybody, first off, but an athlete, of course, right? Because if you're going to sit down and do anything with an athlete, I want carryover.
Yeah. I mean, if it doesn't
I don't
carry
just
over,
want, I want as much carryover out of every second that person's checking that box off.
Are
Right?
you guys familiar with the dead hammer, like the tool that has the shifting sand in the hammer head?
Metal.
Personally, no.
So what it is, a dead hammer, right? It sort of hits and then hits. So it doesn't do that,
Like a
right?
club?
It hits and hits. So when he's doing this, that's bringing him down with ease because it sort of dead hammers. So whereas if I just cut, I mean, if I coil, I come down pretty well. But if I come down here, there's more burden in coming down than if I, like here, I'm like,
Draw yourself into it.
right? And so when he does it, show them how you're doing that.
That draw through. So all I'm thinking about is that pull in, and everything else sort of comes along for
And
a
he
ride.
could literally do 500 reps because he's using that jolt to make it effortless, right? So that we can get.
It's like a counterbalance.
It's a counterbalance, and it's a
Delayed oscillation.
What it is fascia. Think of fascia. Slow fascia deforms it. Fast fascia transforms it. So it turns into this like matrix that goes pink and sends force through it, right? And the more sudden it is, the more we get to exploit it, where there's not muscular contraction, elongation. It's more like a hydraulic pressure that almost goes isometric for that split second. So the force goes through it as opposed to.
I want to say sort of what I'm thinking about. Again, I've spent time to develop the positions on either end. When I can use this tool, because other tools don't let me do it, I can get from A to B without any muddled up stuff in between.
So you're just relaxing
There
the
is
muscles.
only A and B. There's not like the heavy lunge where there's A, B, C, D, E, F, G, but like every moment of that I'm intent and thinking of, I'm only thinking A, B. And I just keep going between A and B, and everything in between, I'm trying to keep it fluid and fast, right?
Now, this is the question.
So for the average person, like that's like people spend years in athletics and specific skills to try to develop that fluidity and that understanding. I can have somebody learn that behavior in a lunge, which is so powerful. I can have them learn it in the core work that they're going to love and do, and they're just developing a skill set they weren't thinking about. So I can add it right in between I do the heavy stuff, right? So
So this is what I'm just thinking about. Like, you know, you both are 5'11", like one
Football
175.
program, it's 6.
Yeah, guys,
giving me a half
so
inch and
like,
weight.
there's a lot of people are attached to their muscle in a sense. Like I want to look, I like to look like a meathead. And he likes to look like no one would fuck with him. That's how he wins all his battles, by the way. They go like, all
Wrestling.
right, I'll just
Wrestling
forfeit. But the muscle activation would more be an isometric catch in a sense. So I'm dropping into the muscle to load, and it's an isometric position. I'm just thinking broadly of these. Obviously, I'm loading the tendon and the connective tissue and fascia as well, but I'm thinking like, at what role does muscle play in? Because to hear a rough recounting of what you were saying is that like, I'm just loading this side of the rubber band and then loading this side of the rubber band. So there's got these polarities.
Sure.
But the muscle obviously has a function. What would you say that is? Is it to
Pressure.
hold that position?
Pressure.
Or to generate the pressure?
Hydraulic pressure is essentially the function of that power.
I think also in a sense you're bypassing the muscle. Like when I did like accelerated eccentrics with bands and chains and stuff for powerlifting, my goal was to drop the weight as fast as I could. When I would do a bench, my goal when I would bench would be to drop the weight so fast that the spotter would be like, fuck, did he drop it? I take the weight out, I go like that, and then bring it down as fast as I possibly could. And it was like I was trying to escape muscle fatigue, and also feeling any sort of pain. If I dropped it that quick, I know that I can load it up and press it.
So would you
It's
that?
same exact principle. Same exact principle. But all things equal, the bigger, stronger muscle is better.
Right.
Because
So
it's
you want the muscle that can relax and contract quickly.
yes, absolutely. You
So-
need a muscle that fast is relaxed.
Yeah,
Right.
so
If I'm
that's
tense,
the
I'm not
training.
fast. Right.
So the training is for someone like him to use the muscle intentionally, and then like it's like a good waiter. You
It's
want them
both
to be
sides
there.
utilized. It's both sides utilized.
Yeah.
You know, go in there and grind and make that thing as strong as you possibly can.
Slowly.
Yeah, it's both sides of it, right?
So like you want the muscle to
Slow
be
is
there
more
when you want it.
muscular, fast is more fascial. It's
Yeah.
basically how it works.
Okay.
A lot of what we're doing, it's like, what if we can go this far and this is what rotation is? What if it can go all the way this way and
Yeah.
it can go to the center, it can go here? And
You have
what
to
if we can
train
skip everything and go A to B? And like, you know, it's just like challenging that idea and questioning it.
Okay, so then you cover. So basically, what you're doing is you're painting the corners.
Yeah.
And then everything in the middle is already generally covered. But if you can get to the extremes and really load that effectively, quickly and safely, then you can create more expression. And then everything in the middle that like mix like the myriad of like awkward spectrum of movements that's covered because you get the extremes down.
Yeah, sure.
And you just channel that together. Does that make
Sure,
sense?
sure. And or as a
Explore.
coach, I talk to a lot of different people in a lot of different fields as a head coach. And like if I have a powerlifting coach, like I want him to still have something that can relate to his powerlifter so
Yeah.
he can still get that and still get really good at what his people want to do. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
Right.
I don't want to say that it's like you got to do all this stuff and then you can't do what you love or work with a tool you really like, you know? So
I mean,
and
like-
practice a type of movement or
Principles.
you know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
you're talking like the bodybuilder versus like is that going to help my jujitsu? Like this is going to help both of them.
Yeah.
And then the way you're going to train the thing you can do too, I can show you things that help with all of them, right? It's in
Yeah.
there too. Yeah,
That's, I'm just getting. at,
yeah
like,
painting the corners. We're saying there's more corners than we realize maybe.
Yeah.
That's what I'm trying to say. It's not
Yeah.
that we're just painting corners. Other people have painted corners and there's certain things that were foundations of stuff. We're saying what if there's more? And if we're not constantly searching for more, what are we doing? We're not moving forward, right? We got to constantly be looking for more. And we can't say we understand anything about our bodies, right? Like there's so much to learn, even as much as we know. There's always something to learn.
Yeah.
And being open-minded to that and actually experiencing it yourself, I think that's king, right? All right. That cool?
Yes.
That answer it? I don't know.
I'm
Yeah.
just thinking like you're going through these, you're expanding potentially, like maybe people think it's like a box, like strong muscles and strong tendons or whatever. You're like, well, actually, it's like a sphere, and you're in the middle of it somewhere like that. And you either can do it, whatever. Maybe it's just we're non-dimensional. You know what I'm saying? Like when you, as a coach, when you're training, you're thinking about let's paint all these corners, so to speak. That way, when you go and play your sport, it's encapsulated in every bit of this. So, like, meaning you play football and there's a bunch of random things you'll do. Like, it's inside the shape we already built.
Yeah, it could
That's
be
kinda
that
good.
way. That would be like the global, like, in my mind, I can present it that way, or I can bring it down super specific. And that's where I brought like my long snapper. He has one job to do, and he gets paid for one job. Snap ball, come up block. You know what I mean? Like, and if he can't do that, which is specific pathways, like that's that guy's job right now, and I'll focus on his global health as well. The blanket, paint every corner, but I might be painting a little more and putting more coats on one corner to keep him savvy for his job. You got me? But because I know that stuff isn't out of the scope of what the global health stuff is, and I know how to steer it real quick back to it, I can keep my athlete healthy, and I can keep that at a high level in something that's specific that might not actually be particularly healthy, right? Okay? Fighters are a great place to put that because beating the crap out of each other is not particularly a healthy goal, and it has a lot of variability in it, right? And you need a lot of options. You need to paint a lot of corners, and handling yourself is the key in it. So, yeah, having it.
Barefoot sprinter, get away from me real quick. Just give me 3 feet. I'm gone.
What's next with these? So we jump. I want to just. He started talking about decel. It's like I love him because we're actually about to show you your decel. I teach you. We learn the floor. We do a hop. We do another hop that has a decel, which is a broad jump. So everybody knows the broad jump. And it actually ended up being one of my favorite things about these is the ability to land safer. Is what I think. All right.
Okay.
So what we're gonna do? We're gonna line up here. This everything I end up doing has a traveling variant. So my regressions are like doing things in place. That's the regression, and it always moves to travel at some point. So we're gonna take pulsar. We're gonna hit down to load. See how I'm like in a dip position?
Yeah.
Then I come up, down, up, and that's gonna turn into land launch. Okay, and I use the same sound. It's the same sound on the launch and the land to get more power off and to get more safer landing. Okay. Keep your blues up. You'll notice like I cock my tool a little bit, like I can turn it around and I still line it up. I know. Yeah, I know. Yeah, I'm really bad at that kind of stuff. But think blues vertical is always a good place to stay because the tool will work easier. But your athletes and your arms want to do something specific, like I can always coordinate back to the same sound because I know the tool.
And think in terms of this destination. Think of the midline of your body, right by the ribs here. That's what gets it there. So you're not trying to come back here. You're just right here.
Smaller than you think. Think of this.
Yes. Yep.
And then just go there and then look at your pulses. Go there and look at your pulses. And look where they are. Yeah. What's your favorite drink, guys? Water.
Steak shake. Steak shake.
Boom. All right. Somebody's on. Don't spill your steak shake. Okay. Don't spill it because this is it. Don't spill it.
I'm spilling.
Don't spill.
Don't spill. So I should
Don't
be here.
spill. Cock your wrist. Do whatever it takes to take the slack out without messing the implement out.
Oh, for some reason when I was looking at you, I thought you were here, but you're.
Yeah.
Don't look at us. What did I tell you to do? Make the sound.
Okay.
It's not about what my hand does. I've been using this for 5 years.
Okay.
I can throw it up in the air and catch it and I can hit the sound. You know what I mean? I know how to use it. Okay?
Right.
You're learning to use the hammer for the first time today. Okay, go. Yeah, here we go.
That's it.
Land on. Right? And then catch it, right? You can work on it.
It's a dip. Coming forward, it's a dip.
Start. There you go. Ride my sound.
It's a dip that comes forward.
Don't even dip.
So
Stay up. Look at me.
boom.
Lose up. There you go. We're doing aerial dips. We're not even doing anything. Right?
There you go.
Start feeling that little calf bump. That'll give you a little up.
This is the weird stuff, man. It's one of those things where, like, sometimes there's things that transcend our logical, our words. It's an interesting thing. It's kind of like teaching someone how to dance, right? I could teach you the 4-step to the hips, but like to feel that and like let the hips move. Still white, don't forget that. It's like it's harder to put into words, and so it's kind of like the way you think about stuff is I'm watching you and I'm trying to do what you're doing as opposed to just feeling what I'm feeling. But it's a lot. It's one of those things where like you need to do it, walk away from it, come back, do it again, walk away from it over the span of a few sessions, and you learn that stuff. So when you get these kind of, Nsima's just an athlete. You're doing something in the way you know how to do it, and you're adding in a different element, and then trying to like merge those two worlds together, and it's just a learning process. So I don't know. There's lots of drills, lots of things to learn. This one, some of them make perfect fucking sense, like running the broad jump where it's a little bit longer on the ground. Not sure yet, but obviously I'm just trying to teach people how to be more athletic, to be, more fluid, more consistent with their body. And I think one of the things that's like for sure, like you always take what are the main themes, what are the principles behind it, and I think it's just part of like learning to create tension and then relax tension. In a sense, tension might not be the best word, but you create, they call it polarities, but you create muscle engagement. You get into positions and then you explode out. But it's like there's like an effortless effort, which is a hard thing to think about. But it's like you want to relax tension that is not necessary, and then maintain maximal contraction in where you want it, and then that creates a position like a rubber band elasticity that pops out of it. So I think just that fluid nature of movement from a perspective, like if you're running and if it feels heavy, if it feels muscular, if it feels tiring, it's like you're missing some cue there. So some of that is just starting to think about the body and how it lines up. Some of the maximalist stuff, like getting these positions, like these are like you're training at the corners, and then most life happens in the middle. But if you can take some of these things, like these principles of
Got a $20 million contract.
Mark, I don't care what he says about your contract. You're still off the team. But that kind of thing. So I think it's an interesting thing, but like the principles of like effortless, like this fluidity and just bouncing back and forth. It's like teaching someone to dance. If you can dance and you can have this like fluid movement, like to let the body flow and engage, it's a lot of stuff there. So like that coil position is good. The effortless, like tension in your body as you're stacking and going, like those are really good principles that like you just explore with. And like now I think how do you cue that with someone that just wants to like start running?
When I pulse, it really amplifies that line. I'm in my lap.
Because I'm like, you're thinking relaxed tension, so I'm kind of here, but then it's like I don't get that clean, like.
You're not working with the tool.
But that's what I'm not thinking about, like where's the tension in this, like.
Yeah.
But like if I watch you, it's like that versus like, and then I'm like, okay, why is this not? You see that bouncing or so?
I can, but look. It's just tool wielding. It's knowing how a tool works. That's what I say. It's knowing that the screwdriver's for screwing things in and the hammer's for hammering things in.
Yeah, but what I'm getting at is like there's part of the tool wielding is like if you're driving a car, you have your hands on the steering wheel unless you have a Tesla.
Yeah.
But like part of the hands on the steering wheel part of this is like that tension.
Yeah.
So like I can be relaxed, but like I wasn't engaging some tension. I think it's just so ingrained and like
we train,
tight.
yeah.
But like this right there, the tension is like you have that. So like even if you're relaxed, you're still maintaining this like your hands on the steering wheel.
Yeah.
But my hands were on like the steering wheel like.
Still trying to drive. You're trying to drive.
I was just trying to like do
it.
this with the steering wheel instead of like 10 and 2.
Got it.
So now when I think about
Honestly, you ran with it already today, and that's the number one thing you want to do with it. That flutter pump, you didn't do, which is why I did that. Go on the floor, okay? We're going to do a flutter kick. So I'm always looking for more, what I'm talking about, speed in core work. It's this hamburger hand. Blues stay at the feet, so the blues are horizontal. I rock the pulse, high elbow. So it's one really high elbow to the other real high elbow. And then I can add a little flutter that naturally picks up that same hip cycle that you run when you walk or run, okay? So you can just ingrain this, that's perfect. You see how you can amplify? Make that sound like sharp. Doesn't always mean it has to be harder, just needs to be sharper. Now repetitive, now it has a cadence to it. Okay, now repetitive, like you could do 100 of them. There you go. Okay, now let the feet naturally find the gauge. There it is, the hip cycle. There we go. So this is always our starting place because you can develop a punctuation of the tool in a really easy way and you get a great ab workout. So everybody's really happy. So if you're introducing a new tool with audible feedback, that's a great way to do it.
Valuable for the athlete to step outside of themselves, analyze the footage of themselves. Holy shit, I do that?
Right.
Right? I didn't know I did that. Right.
Right.
So now we have awareness and we can, that's another thing that Feldenkrais talked about was, can't change it if you're not aware of it.
Right.
So as soon as you have the awareness, oh, okay, that puts it into perspective. Oh, okay, that's what I need to do, right? And the exercises that Chris does with this thing are so varied and like, you know, different movements and stuff where just by virtue of doing those exercises, you now will default to a better gait cycle, right? So everything's feeding onto itself. And then this is one of my favorite exercises, is this.
I just want to stop for 1 second.
Yeah.
David was just sharing with us that when you watch people race like 100 meters, you very rarely would see any side-to-side motion because the race a lot of times is filmed from the side. And to try to film straight, the cameras would get run over or the cameraman would get run over, so you're not going to see a lot of that. You might sometimes see especially the top level guys, they like use the whole lane. They bounce back and forth when they're starting. But again, you just don't really see a lot of that. So the motion that he's talking about might look or sound crazy to you guys, but this is how people are moving when they're moving really fast.
Yes, exactly. There's that, the balance and continuity and the spinal engine that's giving you stride length above and beyond what you can get in plumb neutral, and you're also delivering and receiving the force because you're in balance and you're in balance. Because if I'm not in balance, I can't capture it. The only time I'm not going to be landing, like moving with the head over the foot, is when I'm trying to go somewhere else, right? But if I'm just going, it's just that's where it is, and the technology of the telephoto lens is a lot of why we can see that motion happening actually.
Right.
And it's just invisible if you look at it from the side. You won't notice it. So this is one of my favorite exercises. I go 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So I have balance here, boom, and balance here. Boom, boom, and boom, and boom, boom. And so when we're talking about that torsion, I'm here, this is a coil, right? You recognize that? So I'm here, boom, boom, and from here, boom, and now I take it, and I go boom, that's the internal torsion, boom, that's the external torsion. And all of this stuff is a little bit harder to learn in the sense that it's a motor skill. Yeah. And so, you know, I've ingrained it so much that we're getting better and better at teaching it.
Right.
And I think the more and more people who learn it, that it becomes normalized. And the 100 monkeys, if it's in the ether, the 101st monkey learns it easier, right? Because it's just become a thing.
Yeah.
But this simple, boom.
You talk about the polarities of the internal external rotation and how
Yes.
it's extremes of that
Yes.
will help people, because if they just play with it, they'll
Yeah.
end up
Well,
landing on.
And if I want to
similar
change,
spots.
if I want to change direction, and I come here, see how fast I'm able to turn? I can't turn faster any other way than use the core to actually do it.
Yeah.
Because if I do it and I'm not informed on it,
Yeah.
it can be good, but it can't be the best. Right?
It's like you're throwing a back elbow.
Yeah, fight and flight. It always comes back to the fight and the flight. Because if you think about it, we descend from the winners. Right? True. Yeah.
Somebody won for us to be here.
Yeah, exactly. And I think lacrosse was the first war game that we as a society played, because before lacrosse was a game, I think it was, we need to get the information there. They don't want us to get the information there. All we've got is sticks and stones. Okay, play ball.
Right.
And it's to death now, right? So you're going to be highly motivated to do it well. And I can envision scenarios where I need a medium of communication that is not ephemeral. So I can't have a piece of paper that's going to go through the wash and now I don't have the message, right? So I would take a shell or a wood or a stone, etch in the message, right? And now that's my ball. I have a stick, because you never leave home without a stick for hundreds of thousands of years. That was your most valuable thing, is the stick, right? You're not going to catch things, you're not going to defend yourself without that tool, especially in the beginning, right? So I can envision a scenario where I'm carrying the ball, I have the information, I know the terrain, and there's a little peninsula out here, right? I'm going to take one for the team by drawing them into the peninsula, and now, okay, they're going to get me, but I'm going to pass the ball across the river, and now they scored a touchdown. And I'll bet you money that actually happened. You know what I mean? Like, when you listen to like guys like Thomas Sowell, you realize that the world has always been a treacherous place.
Yeah.
And if somebody wants your real estate, they're coming to take it. And and they're going to enslave. It doesn't matter what race you are, whatever. If you're weaker, you're going to work for me. And you're going to get paid in food enough to live, right?
Yes.
And so the martial capacity used to matter tremendously when we didn't have buttons, blow up, whatever, right? It used to actually matter.